Welcome back to Stock Talk, everybody. Thank you for sticking with us to episode 2. We are continuing with the one winners this episode and for a few episodes. But without further ado, let's get right into it. The first driver we will be looking at today is John Soares of Oakland, California, who was born there in 1918. He started his Cup career in 1951, where he ran 2 races, one in Hanford, California, where he didn't even make the top 30, and one at his hometown track of Oakland, where he got his first top 10. He returned to Cup in 1954, where he started off the season with a top 5 in Oakland and would clinch his first win at Gardena 10 races later. Not that he ran those races, he got top 5, didn't run in 10 races, then got back in his car and won. The 1954 season would be the highlight of his career. He would end that season with 1 win, 2 top 5s, and 4 top 10s. Also during the 1954 campaign, he ran in the K&N Pro Series, also netting a win at Gardena, and finishing the year with 6 top 10s. He would run just one more race in Cup after getting a 20th place finish at Phoenix, but he tried to make a comeback at Riverside in 1978 when he was 59, when he attempted to qualify for the race, but sadly he did not. This was a wild move considering he had never run Riverside in Cup in his entire life, but hey, worth a shot. The second driver on this list is Regan Smith, who was born in Caddo, New York in 1983, and definitely should be higher on this list. But let's start with his win before we get into the controversy. Regan Smith got his win in Darlington in 2011, while running full-time for Furniture Row Racing. During that season, he had 2 top 5s and 5 top 10s, the most in a season he would ever get in his entire career. As Smith crossed the line, Mike Joy made a little plug at the Talladega incident of 2008, and now that I've mentioned it, let's dig in. Regan was racing to the line at Talladega against Tony Stewart when Tony threw a questionable block racing the checkered flag. Instead of getting the win, Regan stayed below the yellow line a little too long for NASCAR's liking, and therefore they gave the win to Tony Stewart. I have a lot of questions for the NASCAR people. Like, wasn't that block questionable? And did you really want Regan to come up through the tri-oval? But nevertheless, Tony Stewart sits at 49 wins, and one of those wins was over Regan Smith at Talladega. While Regan only has 1 to Tony's 49, Regan didn't really amount to a lot before 2011, but after, he did pretty average, ending his career in 2018 with 14 top 10s and 4 top 5s. His real success came in the Xfinity Series, where he had 79 top 10s, 30 top 5s, and 6 wins over 208 races, including 2 two-win seasons for Junior Motorsports. So while Regan's wins in Cup are somewhat controversial, his Xfinity career speaks to the talent that he had. The next driver on this list is Buddy Schumann, who was born in 1915 in Charlotte, North Carolina, and was definitely a talent taken too soon. In just his first year of competition in 1951, he netted 1 top 5 and 7 top 10s in just 7 races, which means every race he started that year, he got a top 10. He entered his second year of competition and was fairly inconsistent. He started off with the top 5 and then wrecked out at Daytona Beach. He then ran an entire race, no wreckage, and finished 25th. Despite this inconsistency, Buddy would go on to get his first win at Niagara Falls in the 18th race of that year, the first Cup race to be held in Canada. He would only crack the top 10 one more time that season at Wilson Speedway. Buddy would only run 5 more races in his Cup career, having an abysmal 1953 season, running 5 races and not hitting the top 10 once. He then entered the 1955 campaign, where he ran 2 races at Hickory and Charlotte, and get a top 10 in each of those starts. On November 13th, 1955, the night before Schumann would start his 1956 Cup Series campaign, Buddy was killed in a hotel fire in Hickory, North Carolina. If Schumann had been spared that November night, who knows how far he would have gotten in the Cup Series. But tragically, this is a story we will never know the ending to. The next driver on this list is Wendell Scott, who was born in 1921 in Danville, Virginia, and he's an inspiration to us all. Wendell was a fan of racing and watched the daily racing circuits in his hometown of Danville, Virginia. And then one day, with a little money he hired Hiram Kincaid, former mechanic of Ned Jarrett, and they built a car together and towed it down to Winston-Salem to race in the Cup Series. But the Cup officials didn't allow him to race because of the color of his skin. P.S. If you think that's messed up, wait till I tell you about his first win. Scott raced in short tracks around the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast until he gained enough credibility in 1961, where he ran in his first Cup race at the Piedmont Interstate Fairgrounds, where he wheeled home a 17th place finish due to oil pressure. Despite Scott being an amazing mechanic, he always was outperforming his cars, which were subpar. Scott drove in his first victory at the Jacksonville 200 in 1964, where he crossed the line first. However, the NASCAR officials at the track created a scoring error so that Buck Baker could be the winner at the track. They did this so that Scott didn't get assaulted at the mostly white-attended track. So at the Jacksonville Speedway, Buck Baker was declared the winner, and after the race, the officials corrected the error, giving Wendell Scott his first and only win as a NASCAR driver. Wendell would drive for 13 seasons and ends his career at 51. Having 495 races under his belt. Along with those starts is 1 win, 20 top 5s, and 147 top 10s. An astonishing career from the first African American to start in the Cup Series, and one of the most driver-respected drivers this sport has ever seen. The next driver on this list is Frankie Schneider, who was born in August of 1926 in Lambertville, New Jersey. He started in the Cup Series in its inaugural season of 1949, where he ran in the Hamburg race that year and brought it home 6th. He ran in 2 races over the 1950 and 1951 season, one at Hamburg and one at Morristown. Only the Hamburg race was productive, where he finished 11th. His real breakout years were 1952 and after a 4-year hiatus, 1957. During those 2 seasons, he combined for 10 top 10s and 6 top 5s over 16 races. He entered his final year of Cup competition with 6 top 5s and 11 top 10s, but a win has escaped him so far. He went into the Old Dominion Speedway in Virginia with 2 top 5s so far that year. He led 106 laps of the 150 that day and won his first NASCAR race in his final year of competition. He ended that season with 2 more top 5s for a grand total of 16 top 10s, 11 top 5s, and 1 win in just 27 races. A nice career from Frankie. If he had run more races, there's no telling what he would have done. The next driver on this list is Leon Sales, who was born in Winston-Salem, North Carolina in 1923. He ran just 8 races in the Cup Series across 3 seasons and got his first win in his first Cup career start at the North Wilkesboro Speedway in 1950. He would lead just 8 laps during that race, but you only need to lead the last one to get the win. Sales would crash out of the following race. The next season, Sales finished every race he ran, which was 4 running, with his worst finish being 18th. He would get 2 top 10s that year. It will be the last 2 top 10s he would ever get. He almost had 3 top 10s, but came up 1 spot shy at North Wilkesboro, where he came in at 11th. Sales would run 2 more races in 1952 before hanging up his fire suit. He started 5th at the 1952 opener at West Palm Beach, but drove it home 26th out of 27th cars, and in his final race, he would crash out at Daytona, giving him 3 top 10s, a top 5, and 1 win in 8 races. Looking at his record, it's hard to say whether Leon had beginner's luck or was a wildly inconsistent driver. But either way, whenever you talk about someone who has won at least 1 NASCAR race, his name has to come across your conversation. The next driver on this list is Greg Sacks, who was born in 1952 in Mattituck, New York on Long Island. He started his Cup career in 1983. He ran 5 races for his dad Arnie, and only finished 1 where he didn't wreck out, which was 17th at Michigan. He ran his first full-time season in 1984, where he would run 6,348 laps and manage 1 top 10 at Bristol. Sacks would enter the 1985 season and get 2 top 10s in his first 3 starts. But going into the summer Daytona race, he had crashed out of 2 of the previous 3 races. Sacks wheeled his Miller American Chevy to a win at the Superspeedway, leading 33 laps around the 160-lap race. Sacks would never again win in the Cup Series, but he did manage a win in the Xfinity Series at Talladega. The man knew how to drive superspeedways. Sacks ended his Cup career in 2006 with 1 win, 3 top 5s, and 20 top 10s, and 2 poles to make it look nice. He ended his Xfinity career 4 years later, where he would run just one race at Daytona. He started 7th and came home 21st. Not a great end to Sachs' career, but statistically it made sense. In both Cup and Xfinity, Sachs would have an average finish of 25th in Xfinity and 28th in Cup. But Sachs can still hang his hat on those super speedways. The final driver we'll be looking at today is Johnny Rutherford, who was born in Fort Worth, Texas in 1938, and he probably has the most illustrious career out of anyone we have mentioned so far. Rutherford got his one and only NASCAR win in his very first start at the 1963 40-lap shootout at Daytona. This would be his only win, so as cheap as that may seem, he still has one NASCAR win to this day. Although Rutherford ran 13 years in Cup, amounting to 1 win, 2 top 5s, and 5 top 10s over 35 races, he was actually more known for his USAC career. He started driving in that series in 1962 when he was just 24. He would get his first win 3 years later in Atlanta, and would end his career in 1992 after 29 years with 112 top 10s, 73 top 5s, and 20 wins across 218 races. Rutherford also tried his luck in the Championship Auto Racing Team Series, which merged into IndyCar in 2008. He raced in that series from 1979 to 1994, and would get 7 poles, 20 podiums, and 10 wins across 14 years. So despite Rutherford's lack of NASCAR stats, he was probably one of the best USAC drivers during the 70s and 80s. Who knows? Maybe he just raced NASCAR to help pay the bills. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Stock Talk. I hope you had as much fun watching it as I did making it. It was a very interesting episode to make. Make sure you stick around for next Tuesday's episode as we continue this series. And see you soon.